سوف ننتقل إلى المداخلة الثالثة ضمن هذه الجلسة، وهي تتعلق بشكل أساسي بموضوع له علاقة بعناوين المواقع domain names. وفي فرصة أنه في معنا مشارك مستر بيير بوني، وهو النائب الرئيس التنفيذي لأفنيك في فرنسا. وطبعا افنيك يعني هي الاسوسياسيون فرانسيز بور لو نوماج انترنت اون كوبيراسيون، يلي هي الجهه المخوله في فرنسا من اجل ان تمنح عناوين المواقع الى المشتركين في شبكه الانترنت. وهذا الموضوع اليوم طبعا يطرح اشكاليات على الصعيد الدولي لجهه دور منظمه ايكان في منح عناوين المواقع على الصعيد العالمي، واي دور له، والى اي مدى هنالك حاجه الى وضع اطار دولي ناظم لهذه المنظمه، عوضا ان تكون دائرة أو مؤسسة أو جمعية موجودة في الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. هنالك نقاش دولي على هذا الصعيد، وهذا النقاش يعني أيضا ينسحب على مسائب هلأ بالوضع الحالي. هنالك نقاش دائر في لبنان حاليا حول من هي الجهة الصالحة لأن تتولى هذا الدور في لبنان. هل يوكل هذا الدور إلى وزارة الاتصالات، إلى وزارة الاقتصاد، إلى جهة جامعة فيها تمثل يعني مجموعة من كل شرائح المجتمع المعنية بموضوع الإنترنت؟ فإذا الموضوع هو اليوم حاليا عالق في لبنان، وربما تكون هذه مناسبة أيضا للاستماع إلى وجهة النظر بهذا المجال وفهم الموضوع بشكل أفضل حول أي دور يجب أن يكون لأيكان من جهة. وطبعا هنالك حاجة للاستفادة من التجربة الفرنسية بهذا المجال.
شكرا.
صباح الخير جميع. I'm gonna speak English or French. I don't know what you prefer, and I'm very sorry not to continue in Arabic. Otherwise, I'm going to be very long if I speak in Arabic. French? Ok, mais écoutez, merci beaucoup. So, maybe a lot of people are going to use the headphones, no? D'accord. Bon, merci beaucoup, et d'abord un grand merci au docteur Youssef pour son invitation. Nous sommes très honorés à la FNIC de pouvoir participer pour la première fois de notre histoire à l'IGF arabe, et c'est grâce à lui, et merci infiniment parce que c'est extrêmement enrichissant pour nous. Je crois qu'il y a une ruée vers les headphones. Okay, so I switch to English. That will be maybe more interesting. Okay, so please bear with me, President, because I already lost 2 minutes of my intervention.
Okay, you can have 3 more minutes.
Okay, very quickly, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm gonna speak about domain names, not too much about ICANN, because I think tomorrow we'll have another session where we will be able to go deeper in ICANN, and as it is a cybersecurity discussion, of course it touches domain names industry, so I'm going to focus on it. First of all, I would like to remind everyone that when we talk about security, we have to ask ourselves, where do we feel secure? Do we feel secure at home? Yes, usually. With our family? Yes, usually. With people we understand the language, for instance? Yes, usually. So when it comes to domain names, it gives an idea that maybe the trust and the security is easier to build when we use local domain names. It's not always the case, but if the internet user feels that the website is hosted not very far from him, is ruled by the local law he knows, is administrated by a company that is in his country, it doesn't prevent the user to go elsewhere, of course. It doesn't prevent the user to share with all the world, but at least he knows that the first point of entry within Internet is located not very far from him. And this is, in our view in AFNIC, the strength that could have the country code top-level domains, just like .lb here or .fr in France. I say could have because this is not by design. In my country, for instance, you have more people registered in .com than in .fr. Because we were so hard on the verification of the registration in France to make sure that it was a trust space of the Internet, that people fled and went to other parts of the Internet. And 10 years after, when you do some surveys, you see that more than 80% of the French Internet user feels that the .fr is more trustable than the .com. And at the same time, you have 40% of the domain name users who are in .com and 36% in .fr. So then you have an image, I feel, of the balance that we have to find between security and trust on one hand and easiness and facility to use the Internet on another hand. And everyone who is working on security knows that, by the way. When you have very high security rules, everyone is going away. So when I used to work for the Minister of Digital Economy in France, and we had a cell phone that took something like 5 minutes to switch on, because it was full of security. After 15 days, all the counselors were using their personal one, because they were fed up of waiting 5 minutes before being able to phone someone. So trying to have a very high level of security sometimes results in pushing the user to use something else that is not secured at all. So that's what we've seen, I think, in the domain names. When we talk about security within domain names also, there is something that we are talking about for a long time now, that is DNSSEC. So I'm very sorry because I'm going to be a little technical, but don't worry. I studied literature and philosophy, so I'm not an engineer, so it cannot be very complex. What we found something like 8 years ago, and my time is over already, so I'm going to be quick. What we find 8 or 9 years ago is that there were a security problem within the domain name system that is called Kaminsky, from the name of the man who discovered it, and that would allow someone to pretend to be the owner of a domain name where he's not the owner, actually. And there is only one way to prevent this risk, is to use encryption and to sign the domain names. And that's why the IETF published a request for comment on the secure DNS. Secure DNS is not well spread today. In France, it's less than 10% of the .fr. In most of the countries of the world, it's not used at all. You have some countries that are using it a lot, but not much. And by the way, even if everyone is signing his domain name today, most of the ISPs will not implement this technology within their own network, and it will be useless as well. So when we are talking about security, and you see that here I'm just talking about trust and security from the point of view of the final users. I'm not talking about cyber crime, cyber terrorism, and things like that. When we talk about security within the DNS, there is a lot of work to do to implement DNSSEC. And I will finish with that. Once again, we face a problem because we know that this is the solution, and at the same time, this is a complex solution. It's difficult to implement for the end user. It's dangerous because it can cut your website if you are not used to change the keys that you have to change to make sure that the encryption is still working. So while it is an answer to a threat, at the same time, it's a burden for the user. So once again, we face this problem with cybersecurity. If we want to strengthen too much the security in the internet, we might lose some users that may go elsewhere in parts of the internet that are not secured at all, but easier to use. So this is the problem I guess all the industry is facing. I don't have really the answer today, but I think this is important to bear in mind that every time we talk about raising awareness, helping the internet user to get more conscious of the security, we have to make sure that it's not more complex for him at the end than it was at the beginning. And I will finish with a very simple thing. When we want to advocate cybersecurity in France with AFNIC, we just say one thing: please update your computer.
That's it.
That's the only thing we say.
Yeah.
Because this is the simplest thing that an end user can do, and it solves something like more than 80% of the cybersecurity problems that he can face. So instead of talking about DNSSEC, as I just talked, because you are an audience of experts, when we talk to the end user, we just say patch, patch, patch everything you can do, first of all. And second, don't share your personal data. Don't share it. Don't share your phone number, and don't share your address. And don't share your credit card number, except if you see a sign just like HTTPS or the green thing in the URL bar. This is the most complex information we give to the end user. We never go further, because otherwise they will not understand what we are saying, and they will go to Facebook, because Facebook is simple and seems to be secured, which is, by the way, not the case at all. So thank you very much. I'm not going to be longer, because I guess we have to exchange later. Yes. I have some other things to talk about, of course, and discuss with you. Thank you very much. I'm very sorry to not have continued in Arabic.
شكرا أستاذ بونيس. شكرا على هذه المداخلة القيمة. كمان أيضا يعني ما يجب الإشارة له والتأكيد عليه من خلال هالمداخلة هي مسألة يعني عدم المبالغة في وضع الأطر المتشددة في موضوع توفير الأمن، لأنه هذا يعني يجب أن يكون هناك توازن دائم بين بهذه المسائل، لأنه الإكثار أو الإفراط في أخذ الإجراءات الأمنية اللي تؤمن، اللي يمكن من شأنها أن تؤمن بيئة آمنة للتعامل، من شأنها أن تؤدي أيضا إلى برك نتائج عكسية بهذا المجال. وهذا الأمر ينسحب أيضا حتى على الإطار القانوني. يعني حينما نتحدث عن التنظيم لا نعني بالضرورة أن نضع الكثير من المسائل القانونية المعقدة بهالمجال. بالعكس، التنظيم قد يكون أحيانا كما هو الحال في قطاع الاتصالات دكتور منعم، أنه المسألة هي مرتبطة أكثر. التنظيم قد يكون بالتحرير، بالتخفيف، بالتبسيط من الإجراءات القانونية والتنظيمية المتشددة بهالمجال إلى الحد الأقصى، بما يؤمن السهولة في التواصل وفي الاستخدامات، ولكن مع توفير قدر مقبول من الحماية والأمان والثقة في هذا المجال. رح طبعا بموضوع الافنيك رح ان شاء الله بالمداخله الثانيه رح نرجع نحاول نفهم التجربه الفرنسيه الحاصله بموضوع الهيئه التي تتولى منح عناوين المواقع بفرنسا، لنشوف الى اي مدى نحن بلبنان فينا نستفيد من هذه التجربه طالما المجال مفتوح طبعا. وممكن كمان نسمع اراء دكتور منعم وكمان كل اللي ممكن يكون عندهم راي بهذه المساله.
تحت شعار اقتصاد الانترنت من اجل التنميه المستدامه، تستضيف هيئة أوجيرو للاتصالات برعاية وزير الاتصالات اللبنانية الأستاذ بطرس حرب، وبالتعاون مع الإسكوا وجامعة الدول العربية، الاجتماع الرابع للمنتدى العربي لحوكمة الإنترنت في 16 17 و18 كانون الأول ديسمبر 2015، فندق موفنبيك بيروت. للحضور أو المشاركة عن بعد www.igfarab2015.org.